What's the worst Christmas present you've ever received? My partner's stepmother once gave me, a 34-year-old at the time, a toddler-sized backpack. When I opened it, she laughed and said, "I actually bought that for Mia, a little girl, a few years ago. She hated it, so I stuffed it in the closet. Then I thought, maybe you'd like it." None of us do. We all think it's hideous. That same year, she gave my 2 kids gifts totaling about $10 in total, with the clearance stickers still attached, while her biological grandson opened a $400 Lego set. She proudly told everyone it cost $400 and made sure to mention the clearance stickers on our kids' gifts, claiming, "What a steal." After that, they asked my kids to leave the room so her grandson could take photos, alone with his Lego masterpiece. That was the last Christmas we spent with them. Honestly, good riddance. I can relate, though. My dad adopted me when I was little, and his parents always made sure I felt like the step-grandkid. One Christmas, I got a $15 journal, while my cousins unwrapped expensive video games and gadgets. My grandparents even told me about the amazing gifts they got their biological grandchildren. They were the only paternal grandparents I knew, but they made it clear I wasn't really part of the family. Then there was the time I worked all summer with my stepdad to save up for a tablet. I was 13, and my sister and I each spent over $250 on our own tablets. That Christmas, my mom gave my 2 brothers brand new tablets and gave me some socks from Target. When I brought it up, she said, "Well, you and your sister exclude your brothers when you play, so this is fair." She never apologized, and honestly, I still haven't forgiven her. Even 10 years later. Oh, my mom has a knack for terrible gifts too. One year, I unwrapped toothpaste and multivitamins, but the piece de resistance, a car crash kit. It had a disposable camera, some forms to fill out, a measuring tape for, who knows, and chalk, presumably to outline where the bodies landed. Merry Christmas, I guess. One year, when the Tamagotchi craze was huge, my siblings and I all asked for one. My sisters each got one, and I got a pair of shoes because mine were too worn out. I was 9 and my sisters were 7 and 6. When I asked my dad why I didn't get one, he said, "Santa thought you were too old for toys. Besides, life isn't fair." That was the year I stopped believing in Santa, and maybe in my dad too. All the time I was obsessed with Green Day and alternative music. My mom tried to be thoughtful and got me some CDs for Christmas, back when CDs cost like $25 each. Awesome, right? Nope. The CDs were by Celine Dion, Boyz II Men, and someone else I've completely erased from memory. Christmases at our house always felt unbalanced. My brother would get big, shiny gifts like a ping pong table or a mini fridge, while I'd unwrap a $5 makeup set and a second-hand book. At least now I've got some wild stories to share about Christmas disasters. I love the thought behind those things. So the gifts themselves weren't terrible, but it was painfully obvious that I wasn't the favorite child. After we finished opening presents, my mom would glance at the small pile of gifts I got compared to the mound my sister received. Then without fail, she'd storm around the house, making a big deal out of how she must have misplaced my other gifts. This happened several years in a row. Apparently, in the moment, she'd realize she had spent way more on my sister than on me, so she'd invent this excuse to cover it. Funny enough, those misplaced gifts never turned up. Worse, my birthday is shortly after Christmas, and the budget was always blown, so I barely got anything. My sister claims I got terrible birthday presents, and that I was always bitter about it. I don't remember being jealous, but it might be true. One birthday stands out clearly, though. The year I only got a planner with my name stamped in gold on the cover. Oh yeah, I remember that one vividly. It really stings when you realize there's a clear favorite. For me, it was the year my little brother got a gaming console for Christmas, and my dad forgot to pick me up on my birthday because he was too busy setting it up with him. Then they wonder why I feel distant now as an adult. Looking back, I see the humor in some of it. Like when I was 6 and got a coat for Christmas, I burst into tears and screamed, "You're supposed to buy me these anyway." That one still cracks me up. Poor 6-year-old me. Now, Here's one about a relationship disaster. I was dating a guy for a few months when Christmas rolled around. He had just started a job that required travel, and this was before everyone had smartphones with built-in GPS. So, I splurged a little and got him a Garmin GPS for his car. Thoughtful, practical, and not too romantic. It felt like the perfect gift for where we were in the relationship. We couldn't meet up until a few days after Christmas, and in my excitement, I accidentally left his gift at home. I felt terrible, but he said no worries, I'll give you your gifts now, and I'll just get mine later. He came back with 2 gifts that were clearly rewrapped. The paper was crinkled and torn. I unwrapped the first one, a fitness magazine that had obviously been read. Confused, I stared at it because I've never shown any interest in fitness magazines. However, he loved them. Moving on, I unwrapped the second gift, a DVD in a torn wrapper. It was Forrest Gump. Now, don't get me wrong, Forrest Gump is a great movie. The only problem, I already owned a copy. I sat there, baffled. He finally broke the silence and said I got bored with my gifts, so I tried them out before giving them to you. So I sat through the movie, staring blankly, and then turned back to him. I hadn't said much about his gifts, but I finally blurted, "So you got me a magazine because you wanted to read it, and you watched the movie you got for me because you were bored?" His only reply was, "Well, yeah, I guess so." I left not long after. The next day, I returned the Garmin GPS for a full refund. About a week later, he called and said, "I don't think this is working out." I calmly replied, "No problem. I don't think it is either." As we were wrapping up, exchanging polite well wishes, he paused for a moment and then asked, "Hey, were you still planning to give me that Christmas gift? Read MMA magazine and used Forrest Gump DVD as gifts." I got my refund and moved on. Nothing will ever top the Christmas when my family went to my dad's side, like we did every year for the past 17 years. But that year, I had just turned 18, and apparently that meant I didn't deserve any gifts. All my cousins, older and younger, got presents from someone, and I just sat there, awkwardly empty-handed. My parents even brought gifts for all the cousins, but somehow, it didn't occur to anyone to include me. I still don't understand it, and no one acted like anything was wrong. When I was 10, my grandparents gave me a single, unwrapped suitcase for Christmas. The kicker, they had used it to carry all the wrapped presents for my siblings. Once they emptied the suitcase, they just handed it to me and said, "Merry Christmas." Since my dad isn't on Reddit, I'll share one of his stories. When he was younger, he was obsessed with becoming a drummer. He'd build detailed drum kits out of pots, pans, and anything else he could find, drumming on them for hours. After months of this, he woke up on Christmas morning to find an acoustic guitar and a note for guitar lessons. He told me he gave the lessons a shot, but kept flipping the guitar over to play it like bongos during class. This reminds me of a time I was in Goodwill a few weeks ago. I saw this kid in a shopping cart, pushed by his mom, with a tiny kid's drum set in the cart. The little dude was already jamming away, just beaming with joy. I was having a rough day, but seeing him so happy absolutely lifted my spirits. And finally, here's a recent one. I've been with my girlfriend for about 3 years now. Now, her family considers me a part of their family, but my girlfriend's mom and aunt are probably the most hypocritical, outrageous people I've ever met. Her aunt believes that using a GPS makes you a bad person who doesn't deserve to live in that state. She proved her point by getting everyone lost during a vacation. She's lived in Florida for 27 years at that time, so you'd think she'd know better. The mom, on the other hand, is a manipulative narcissist who once told my girlfriend and a mutual friend that the only reason she kept her around was to use her as a punching bag for her anger. She'd yell about nonsense and belittle her, making her feel worthless 24/7. For Christmas, I went to my girlfriend's home to celebrate with them before heading to my house to be with my family. I received a present from her aunt, one single rubber duck, its bottom torn out. A note was stuffed inside, with the message, "If you are reading this, you killed the birdie." Along with it was a black painted rock that simply said best buds. But the mom's gift was the worst. She gave me a nutcracker. At the time, I didn't really get it, but later, my girlfriend's dad pulled me aside and said in a stern voice, "I'm sorry for the gift. Betray has given that to all the eldest daughter's boyfriends as a threat." Yep. I got a broken rubber duck accusing me of killing it, a rock, and a nutcracker as a veiled warning. If I did anything to hurt my girlfriend more than her mother already had, that nutcracker would be used. One Christmas, I got a set of miniature butter knives with ceramic fruit and vegetable handles from another aunt, who said I was so hard to shop for. I was only 7 at the time. I also got a comic book that had been lying around the house for months. I ended up reading it twice before realizing it was supposed to be my surprise present. As for my daughter, when my mom asked what she wanted for Christmas, I said she liked to sew. Somehow, this led to the entire extended family buying her only yarn. That was 2 years ago. And there's still a mountain of yarn. The funniest part, they misunderstood. She likes to sew, not knit. Finally, in 2012, I participated in an office gift exchange with a $30 limit. My gift was a CD of the giver's favorite album. I wasn't too thrilled, but put the disc in to check it out. Turns out, the CD was blank, just the band name and album title written on the disc, but nothing actually burned onto it. I bought my professor a $50 gift card when I graduated. Years later, she confessed she tried to use it, but said it was empty. I definitely paid for it and the $6.95 activation fee, but she never wanted to tell me, because she didn't want to disappoint me. I felt terrible. One Christmas, I didn't get anything. My mom crocheted beautiful tablecloths for my 2 sisters and gave them their gifts in front of me. I just stood there, trying not to cry. I've been there before. My sister-in-law made quilts for all the other women in the family, but not for me. It wasn't because they were child-themed quilts, but because I didn't have kids. She felt the need to reward people for having children, I guess. We couldn't have kids, and she knew that. One Christmas, I got a pirated copy of Titanic. Already seen it twice. And the DVD didn't even have a case. The title was written on the disc with a marker, and the DVD was so scratched it didn't even play. I was stunned. When I was 8 or 9, my grandma gave me a Christmas ornament. It was a little stuffed cherub with pink cheeks and yarn hair. I cried because I had saved up my allowance to buy her a similar ornament the year before. That felt really cruel. As for my 18th birthday, coming of age, and all that, I remember how special my siblings' 18th birthdays were. Our family always threw big parties for them, but not for me. I don't know what triggered it, but I was pretty much in charge of my own birthday. One year, my parents straight up forgot it and gave me a $50 check 6 months later as an apology. For a consolation, my mom invited me to lunch, though she had already planned to make a meal with beans when she got back. Still, I tried to make the best of it and suggested we go to a fast food place. At least it was an effort to salvage my birthday. When we got there, my sister showed up unexpectedly, and after we sat down to eat, my friend came by, spotted me, and handed me a styrofoam plate with a slice of cake. I lost it. I cried like a little kid. It wasn't even a cake I liked, but the fact that my friend thought of me when my family didn't made me feel so seen. I ate every bite of that cake, forcing myself to love it. It still makes me tear up. One year, I got a super cool gift, a massive art kit that my parents had worked on for months. It was a big toolbox filled with scissors, glue, paints, colored pencils, glitter, everything a crafty kid could want. But every time they went upstairs to add something to it, they'd joke, "We're going upstairs to fair. I'll leave the rest to your imagination." They did it so often, it became a bit of a running gag. So, my third great brain assumed he had gotten what I asked for. But Christmas Day came and I opened it to find ice. Age 2. The meltdown staring back at me. It was the first time I faked liking a gift. Ice age 2. The letdown. Every year, my aunt would give us rainbow bendy straws for Christmas. She was mad at our dad for bringing US back 3 days late from his side of the holidays, and took it out on us. Being a contrary soul, I happily took my brother's discarded pack and proceeded to make a million rainbow flutes, which I would try to learn to play incessantly for the next 2 months. I suspect she lived to regret her choice, especially since I never cleaned up any of my discarded flutes. She sounds lovely, right? 1 year. I got nothing, not even a card. Not even from the secret Santa I participated in at work. That was a tough Christmas. I got a Starbucks gift card with a $0 balance and a gallon-sized Ziploc bag of coffee straws. At least the straws were useful, but the gift card was just mean. I'm glad I had enough money when I tried to use it. When I was 7, I had my first computer, AZX Spectrum, then the 186.286. At our local kids club. I kept on going, learning to code early, and was addicted to anything related to them. My grandma called me and told me she had sent money to my parents to buy me a PC at 11 in '96. I was so excited. All my friends couldn't wait to see it and play with me. I couldn't sleep 4 days. Then Christmas Eve came. We did gifts in the evening, and when I rushed under the tree, surprise, I got a mobile electronic organ player. I respected her like nobody else in my life, but that wasn't what I had hoped for. I replied to this question once, explaining that certain events from childhood will impact you for the rest of your life, especially when they're tied to an event that everyone else celebrates. I remember it and get a bit sad, but then I think about my childhood and my family, and I smile. They gave up so much for me to grow and allowed me to have my own journey. I think your grandmother meant well, but only sent you $50 because she thought that's what a PC cost or something. But your mother misappropriated the money and did it so brazenly that you found out about it. Sheesh. My dad, his first Christmas divorced and living alone. The first time ever shopping for us. Clearly a struggle, because my mom always did the shopping before. He got me a nose hair trimmer when I was 12, and I definitely didn't understand why I got that gift. I also got a bunch of combs and the cheap children's toy, which made me wonder if he thought being with me should be enough. Still, I found it in my heart to get him something small for Christmas. A box of top ramen, just a standard grocery box of ramen packs. It was wrapped with a nice bow, and it wasn't gifted as a joke. My family knew I was having financial troubles and was only eating 1 meal a day. They honestly thought they were helping me out. This one's really insulting because, if they really wanted to help, they could have gotten me more practical essentials. Instead, my brother got a PS3, which had just come out, along with a big stack of games and other toys. Last year, my mom bought me a can opener, wrapped it, and gave it to me while everyone was gathered around exchanging gifts, so they could all share in her laughter. Unfortunately, she was the only one who found it funny. Everyone else just thought it was messed up. I know friends who received a can opener for Christmas because they didn't have much money, but the intent was clear. They didn't find it funny either. I didn't even watch a second of those movies, and I'm pretty sure the franchise was up to episode 4 or 5 by then. The very next year, someone got me a cheap pair of fake leather driving gloves. They were about 2 sizes too small, and somehow my uncles and aunts were convinced I was secretly a Tokyo Drift racer or something. The year after that, my mom got me something called a name tag. You're supposed to put the name of a family member on there. When I saw it, I was told my face fell. I was raised to not complain about receiving gifts, so when she asked me if I liked it, I forcefully smiled, reassuring her that I did. I even put it on my jacket zipper to prove my point. Turns out it was a joke, and she did get me a real Furby after, but that immediate disappointment was hard to hide.